What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Today I'm going to talk about the 7 books that blew my mind about money. If you are ready to take a step out of the matrix, go down the Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole, and figure out how things actually work, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to come up with the book. I'm then going to give you a brief synopsis and description of the book, and then I'm going to rate the book on several factors. Enjoyment and engagement, which is like how fun is it to read the book, or is it more of a textbook type thing? We're going to rate it on the difficulty metric as well. How high level of the book is it? Do you have to understand things kind of first before you get into it? Or can you just jump right in? Emotional impact. This is super important to me because this channel is all about becoming financially secure with a focus on your wellness. And some of these books are going to be kind of eye-opening, and if you're not ready for them emotionally, they might blow your mind and actually get you kind of depressed for a little while. And the final thing that we're going to rate each book on is actionability, i.e., is this something that you can actually take and apply to your life every single day right away, or is this like a thing that is going to change your mind and over time it will help you out? Book number 1 is The Creature from Jekyll Island. This book is all about the history of banking, the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank as we know it here in the United States, as well as the history of central banking in other cultures throughout history. It also delves into how we got to the inflationary monetary policy that we have today and really proves to you how fake money actually is. It's one of the most important ones on the list because I feel like this book really exposes you to how severe the problem is in our economy. So, enjoyment and engagement. I'm gonna give this one an 8. It's actually really fun to read. There are some textbooky type moments in the book, but it regularly moves back to a more dramatized version of history just to keep things a little bit interesting. Difficulty of this book, as long as you have a high school, post-high school reading level, you should be able to get through the book. You don't have to know pretty much anything about money going into it. It basically starts at square one. The emotional impact of this book is incredibly high. I got ultra depressed. The book is very kind of conspiratorial and kind of the whole world is out to get us, and everybody got together and put together this central reserve banking idea as a way to poo-poo on the lower class. I don't think that's necessarily the truth, but it's kind of hard to not think that it is while you're reading this book. I definitely don't think that it's the end of the world, but you might feel that way a little bit while you're reading the book because it does go that direction. Actionability is where this book is sort of both and. Like, it's not going to give you specific action items that you can go out and do today. However, if you are the type of person who is not motivated to save money, it doesn't feel like investing is really worth it, this is the type of information that is going to get you up and off of your butt, fired up, and ready to start investing and get yourself in the game and off the bench when it comes to fighting inflationary monetary policy, which is keeping everyone poor. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a high score in actionability, even though it doesn't give you specific rules on how to actually beat the inflationary monetary policy. It does give you the freaking feeling in your gut that you have got to get up and change something, and then you'll read one of these other books and it'll tell you how to beat it. So the next book is The $100 Startup. It is about all of these different companies, a collection of short stories, if you will, of all of these different companies that started up on a shoestring budget. And it's really inspiring to read other people's stories. The key takeaway that I took from this book is something that's not actually mentioned in the book, but it was something I noticed as I was reading all these stories, is that every single one of these stories of successful startups that started on a shoestring budget were when 2 or more people got together and decided to build something. So the whole idea of a solopreneurship or a one-man business, this book really gave me a pause because that's not what other people are doing. A business is really when multiple people get together and decide they can build something together. So we're going to rate the book on the enjoyment factor. 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed reading this book. It's a ton of fun to hear other people's successful stories and gets the idea juices flowing, makes you think about some other things that you could potentially be doing. Readability on this book, super easy. You could also just listen to it and on audio if you want. It's not going to be one that you're going to do a whole lot of trying to retrack into the book and go back to this chapter, that chapter. You're not going to be taking notes on it or anything like that. It's just an enjoyable book that gets you inspired. The emotional impact, I think, was super positive for this book, but I enjoy this kind of stuff. I love thinking about new ideas, and I love thinking about other people's ideas, and I absolutely love hearing about other people's successes. If you are the type of individual who is prone to resentment because you've tried to start a lot of businesses and it's very frustrating for you that other people have been successful and you haven't been yet, maybe this one makes you a little bit more angry, but I love seeing other people's success and it's a lot of fun. On the actionability, I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. There's a lot of good ideas, and if you don't really know how businesses get formed or what types of businesses exist out there, and you're really looking to idea search for what type of business you might want to start, there is potentially some actionable information in there. When I approached this book, I sort of already knew what the types of businesses were, whether it's a service-based business or a product-based business or whatever. And so I kind of already saw the structures. But if you're looking for ideas and you don't know what types of structures could exist in a business, then this is a great place to start. You can see a ton of different options, a ton of different ways that people have made things work, and the key factors that cause these people to be successful where other people weren't. So book number 3 is actually 2 books, but I'm going to collapse them into one. It's going to be $100 Million Leads and $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. They're both really, really great books. I think there was a massive gap in the book market for information on advertising and marketing. There's a lot of great sales books. There's a lot of great management books out there. But there's really not any great books out there on advertising and marketing that can just be bought by the general public, and especially none that really take into account the social media marketing environment, the content creator world. So I think Alex really nailed it on the head when he wrote these 2 books. So the enjoyment of this book, personally for me it was a medium, not a super high enjoyment rating, but I have always shied away from advertising and marketing. I'm more the type of guy who really loves operational content, and I just enjoy that part of the business a whole lot better. I'm not great at advertising and marketing. However, this was a great book and it was really helpful for me. I didn't enjoy it as much just because that's not the type of thing that I enjoy. If you particularly enjoy advertising and marketing and you're super into understanding what the necessary steps are to actually round out your business acumen, your business knowledge, I think the advertising and marketing parts of business are the things that a lot of people are missing. Again, because there's so much good sales knowledge out there and there's so much good business management knowledge out there. There's really not a lot of good advertising and marketing books, and I've read a lot of them. Most of them really, really suck. These ones don't. Readability, I'm going to give a 10 out of 10. This book was super ultra well laid out and gives you a ton of fantastic actionable steps, which means I'm going to give the actionability a very high rating as well, 10 out of 10. Number 4 is going to be Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Now, I have some problems with this book and some positive moments. Positives first. This is one of the better books for you to get into if you are brand new to the world of financial security, financial independence, financial literacy, trying to get yourself into a place where you understand everything that you need to know about money. This would be a fantastic place to start with one caveat. The first half of this book is mostly marketing copy written to get more sales on Tony Robbins' other products. If you can get past that, the second half of the book is all kinds of fantastic information, basically from 0 to 60, of things that you can do and things that you can investigate that will dramatically improve your knowledge of money. This book happens to be the first book where I found out about super high expense ratios wrecking people's profits in their 401ks and their IRAs. Now that I know this, I realize a lot of people talk about high expense ratios, but this book was the first one that explained it to me in a way that I actually understood how much that was damaging people's 401ks and their IRAs. Almost nobody explains it well, and I gotta give credit to Tony Robbins where it's due. He knocked that part out of the park. However, I do remember now, having read this book, that he does also recommend that you do a whole life insurance policy and then borrow from your whole life insurance policy and pay yourself back. That is one of the most massive scams on the face of the earth, and I would not recommend anybody go down that route. So that's the one thing that he recommends in that book that I really, really didn't like. I'm going to say medium on enjoyment for the Tony Robbins book. Again, the first half of the book is mostly marketing copy for other Tony Robbins products. If you really want to learn how to write marketing copy, though, you can absolutely use his book as a reference. The first 50% of the book is dead on perfect marketing copywriting. Readability. Very easily readable. It does get you a little amped up and stoked and jacked up, kind of like the Creature from Jekyll Island book, not nearly as much as that book. But it will get you amped up and stoked and a little pissed off about how financial advisors are taking all your money. And I think that's an important aspect of this whole thing also. The emotional impact of this book was I felt very confident that I actually understood a whole picture of different financial products that I had no idea even existed prior to reading this book. And that gives me a lot of confidence. So I'm going to say emotional impact was very positive. Actionability, this book is another one of those 10 out of 10s, especially for people who are not even necessarily starting a business, don't run a business, or don't have a business, you're just a W-2 employee, and you want to maximize your savings and investing. This book is 10 out of 10 actionable. You can go out and do a lot of the things on this list, just don't do a whole life insurance policy. Number 5 is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Oh, Ramit Sethi. I love this dude so much. I sort of hope that he adopts me. He has a fantastic YouTube channel full of free content that you can watch whenever you want, but I also recommend that you pick up his book because it's also fantastic. You know, Ramit really focuses on the mental health and wellness side of personal finance, which I appreciate and I hope to do in my business as well. And not only does he teach you how to aggressively save and invest for your future, he also teaches you when is it the right time to go ahead and spend your money. There's a lot of people that are on the other side of that coin also, who the way that they got to their financial freedom was by saving and investing all their life, and they haven't figured out how to turn that knob off and turn on the spending knob. And I think that Ramit approaches this in a really, really, really solid way. So enjoyment. I really, really love this book. There's a lot of specific examples. Ramit gives a lot of examples from his own life, and he is a very, very good storyteller. So I enjoyed this book a whole lot. You could listen to this one on audio or go ahead and pick up a copy. The readability of this book was fantastic. Steps are laid out right in front of you. Definitely a ton of actionable things right away. And I really appreciate the way that he approaches it from a mental health perspective. Emotional impact. This book is one that's going to make you feel good about yourself. Ramit has a really, really shrewd way of making you feel good regardless of your situation, but also be encouraged to do more. Actionability, 10 out of 10. You can take steps from this book and immediately apply it to your personal financial situation and make a ton of progress in a very short period of time. All right, number 6 is not a money book, but it is a super important and valuable book, I think, for understanding our perceptions versus reality. When you understand this at a very deep level, you can apply what's in this book very tightly to people's perceptions of money, business, and value. That book is Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson. Now, I know Jordan Peterson has gotten a lot of flack in social media and all over the place for more of his recent content, but Maps of Meaning was a book that he wrote kind of a long time ago. I was a hardcore Jordan Peterson fan before it was cool to be a Jordan Peterson fan. And then he went out of vogue and he got not cool, but like I was a fan before all of it. So Maps of Meaning is all about people's perceptions and their reality, how we perceive things versus how we live and experience things. It's a very, very complicated and difficult book to understand, and so might not be the place for beginners or people who are just looking for money information. But if you really love philosophy, if you really love logic, you can take these ideas and apply them to money and value. And when you understand The Creature from Jekyll Island as well as Maps of Meaning, you will definitely feel like you've just walked out of the Matrix into real life, and it's pretty intense. So enjoyment, I'm gonna go with a medium. This one is very, very thick and dense and difficult to read, but which I enjoy, but a lot of people probably won't. It also is a little bit textbooky in that it references a lot of other psychologists and a lot of other sources regularly. And it's very, very thick and dense. So if you're not ready for a thick, dense book, avoid this one. Readability. I thought this book was incredibly readable, but I also like reading things like the Federalist Papers, Thomas Jefferson and John Locke. And if you are into those kind of high-level philosophy discussions and logical arguments, and if you ever spend any time reading Beyond Good and Evil by Nietzsche, then you'll really enjoy this book. However, it is like a higher reading level, college graduate level, maybe even postgraduate level reading. Emotional impact. This book is super, super, ultra slow, and it's very, very long. So by the time you get all of the backstory in and you get into the middle of the book, that's when it starts picking up pretty heavily and you start to see the whole picture. When you see the whole picture, I think this book is massively emotionally impactful, and it actually changed my life dramatically when I understood the whole picture. However, it takes a very long time to wrap your head around it. Actionability, I'm going to call this one 10 out of 10 because I was able to apply it. However, there are not going to be any step-by-step instructions of how you apply this to your life. It's really going to take the ability to take abstract ideas and then impress those upon your personal finances, your relationships, and the way that you deal with the world. So, number 7 is All It Takes Is a Goal by Jon Acuff. In this book, Acuff breaks down an incredibly powerful way to break down your past to understand your future and to understand your present self. His methods work way, way better than any personality test that I've taken, and I have taken a whole lot because I'm super, super nerdy and dorky about personality science. Acuff also sets aside very effective ways of evaluating your personal relationships. See, I've always been very good at evaluating financial things because I have numbers and charts to track them. But how do you track how good of a friend you are or how good of a boyfriend you are? Pretty tough to even know. But his methods are actually really, really fantastic. Acuff explained a way to me as a very technical and numbers-based individual how I can actually apply numbers and trackability to my personal relationships. And it's been super, super impactful. The enjoyment is going to be really high on this one. I had a lot of fun doing the exercises in the book, and I had a lot of fun reading Acuff's style. He's very down to earth, and he's very relatable. Readability. This one is super readable. Even as just a high school student, I think there are thematic elements of this book that you could definitely put to work for you. The emotional impact. This book had a fantastic emotional impact on me. It made me feel better while I was reading it, but even better than that, it made me feel better over the long term. And it encouraged me to get a lot more done than I had been getting done before and kept me sane throughout the process. Actionability is an absolute 10 out of 10 with Acuff's book. There are very specific steps that he gives you that you can take to track your goals in 5 different areas. They're organized very, very well. And I have actually been able to make tons of progress in my own life based on the things in this book. So thank you to all of the writers of these books. They have all impacted my life very, very heavily. The ideas in these books are super important, and I hope that everybody else gets as much out of them as I did. Thank you guys for watching.